Do my podcast about sports, about sports, about sports.
Howdy, Ags from the Tailgate, home of Aggie Football. Today, home of Aggie Sports. A little bit of the baseball show. We will get to a little bit of football here at the end, but I think the majority of today's show is going to talk a little baseball. And haven't been on since all the drama has happened with the baseball program. And let me just start by saying the fact that this 2024 baseball team was absolutely awesome, man. There's so much that's happened since then, and I don't think this team had got the credit that it deserves with respect to its accomplishments in 2024. So before we get into all the drama and everything that's happened since the season ended, let's remind ourselves for just a second that this team finished number 2 in the country by one flipping run in baseball. I can't say how proud I am of these guys, this team, these players. The performance by this team in 2024, I mean, just amazing, just absolutely amazing. Look, they go into the super regionals, obviously as a favorite there at home. They lose Montgomery in game 1. They persevere. They make it through all that. They go all the way through the World Series, the College World Series, without losing a game until game 2 of the finals. They lose Sadeo in this process, who was their second starting pitcher at the time. I just can't say enough about what this team did in 2024. The heart, the determination, the team, right? The team portion of what they did this past season in baseball. We talked about it throughout the year here on Ags Tailgate. Look, this team was good enough, talented enough, well-rounded enough, deep enough to make a run at a championship. But, making a run at a championship ain't only about talent. It's not only about depth. It's not only about those things. You also have to have a little luck go your way. You also have to have some breaks and things, right? The matchups have to pan out. Usually you got to have a good injury history. Well, this team had all the pieces necessary to compete for a championship. And then, in spite of not necessarily having the luck that you would normally expect in a championship run, they made a run anyway. We talked about Montgomery. He goes down. We talk about Sadeo. He goes down. Look, Jace Lavalette had an injured hammy, gutted it out during the World Series. There was a game out there where I didn't think he could get to a ball in right field. And this team persevered through that. Hayden Schott, he was limping around a little bit at times. They persevered through that. Cortez didn't have his best outing. Prager didn't have one of his best outing in one of these games, right? All of these things happened, and this team just kept on keeping on. Just huge performance by this entire roster, the players on this team. Just incredible to see it. And I also want to make sure to point out Travis Chestnut. Travis Chestnut, that goes from second base down to center field and plays a darn good center field out there, right? He's got to make that change. Kent comes in to that second base position. He takes over the responsibilities, or at least some of the responsibilities, of a guy like Montgomery in the lineup. This was incredible how the different pieces came together and absolutely did what they had to do to make this team successful in 2024. What a run. What a run. And Aggie fans, you should be proud of them. You should be proud of this team. This is something that doesn't happen very often. And we're going to talk about the future of this ball club here in a minute, but I don't want to go by and let this day go by without acknowledging how great the 2024 Texas A&M baseball team was. Just incredible, incredible, incredible. Brager, Laviolette, Grahovic. I mean, Grahovic comes in, you kind of see him. He looks like he may have hit a little bit of a freshman wall and then has a huge World Series, man, especially in the championship matchup against Tennessee. Just has huge at-bats and plays. I mean, just incredible. At times, shifting out to the outfield when needed for defensive purposes. I can't say enough. I can't say enough about what this team, Sorrell, who at times looked like he also had hit a freshman wall, comes through with big hits and big moments. Schott, who we talked about having some injury issues, guy just starts stepping it up at the plate. I mean, you go up and down this lineup. Kent, absolutely awesome, coming off the bench for an injured Montgomery. Just incredible. Camarillo was phenomenal as a shortstop, defensively, just incredible. Day in and day out, making plays out there. We haven't even talked about Appel, who managed this staff as the catcher, did a great job behind the plate, and came up with some nice hits as well. Offensively, was a guy that picked up his, some of the slack that came in from Montgomery getting hurt. Everybody put a little something into this run, and I can't be more proud of this 2024 Aggie baseball team. Cannot be more proud. Brager was awesome. Brager was awesome in the World Series. Just kept going out there and fighting and fighting and fighting. Lampkin, wow. Gets thrown into the mix, gets a nice start in the first game in the World Series, comes back, bigger start in his second start in the World Series, and then gives you another great performance in the finals. I mean, just incredible. Lampkin, and he's just getting better and better. A guy like Wilson comes in tough times. Cortez didn't have his best stuff, but that guy battles. And Aschenbach, my geez, man. I mean, just keep throwing him out there. And that dude just keeps producing and producing and producing inning after inning. Just incredible. I can't say enough about what this team did in that run. Everybody contributing, so many different players getting a piece of that. I'm so impressed. And lastly, I want to say this: the 12th man, man, the 12th man. Goodness gracious, gig 'em Aggies, baby, because nobody shows up like the 12th man, and that is huge, absolutely huge. You get those kind of performances from the players, but you also see the emotion coming from those guys because of the energy in the stands, in the crowds, every freaking minute of the game. Just absolutely incredible. I'm just amazed at, the level of intensity that the 12th man brought. Every single at-bat, every single pitch, it was amazing. It was awesome. It was awesome to see. And it reminds me why I'm an Aggie. It reminds me why I cheer for the Texas A&M athletics, because of the support that is given to these guys from these fans, from the best fans in the country, hands down. Huge performance by the 12th man. One run, 1 run. He lost the national championship by 1 run. Just incredible. Hats off to the Aggies, to the baseball team. Folks, celebrate that baby. That's a big time. That is big time. Now, I mean, the game hadn't ended and been over for an hour. Rumors started. This is the last time I'm going to say his name, but Schloss on his way out to Texas. Schloss to Texas. Bye. You won't hear me say his name anymore. Today in this podcast, it's the last time you'll hear me say it. And it felt like the ground was falling, right? It felt like the world was ending for Aggie Baseball. Because not only did we get the punch in the face of Schloss going to Texas, which, brought me back to my boss over at the law office is an Oklahoma fan. And when Lincoln Riley announced he was leaving, I mean, that crushed him. That crushed him. Oklahoma fans took a hit. Well, this was like that, except worse, because they didn't go to USC. He went to Texas. He went to Texas because of DeLoss Dodd. There's no question about that. It's his relationship with DeLoss Dodd, which he didn't have at A&M with anybody else. And I'm not taking him off the hook. The dude is a liar and just a scumbag as far as I'm concerned by the way he did things. And the more you hear from the players, the more you think about how much of a scumbag he is. You can't take away that he was a great coach and what he accomplished at A&M. Love it. Bye. Good riddance. Good riddance. But on top of that, Lavalette, Grahovic, Sorrell, Kent, Schott, Camarillo, Wilson, Lampkin, all in the transfer portal. A&M baseball is falling down the hole, man. This is what happened. We couldn't have gone from such a high point, the emotional roller coaster, high point, to such a low point with, just anger brewing inside for the way things were done by the coach, by the administration, the lack of the response, everything, right? Aggies were upset. They were hurt. I was hurt. But I gotta give it to Trev Alberts. I really do. I've got to give it to Trev Alberts because he went hard after the Tennessee coach. He went hard after the Virginia coach. 2 guys that I think make sense that they stay where they're at, right? Because Tennessee, they just won a national championship. And at Virginia, the guy's been there forever. He's a legend. But he went hard after 2 guys that are 2 of the best in the game right now. But then he started to listen to guys that were more important than anybody else out there. And that is the players on this roster or the players that could potentially be on this roster. And those players told him that they wanted Michael Early, in spite of the fact that there was all the rumors and all the things going on with Michael Early going with Schloss to Texas and so on and so forth. They said, this is our guy. And they got behind Michael Early 100%. The players did, the roster did, everybody on this team and associated with this program got behind Michael Early. And Trev Alberts didn't say, okay, maybe this guy didn't, maybe this guy doesn't have, this is like the prior administration, right? When they were looking for a football coach, and they threw guys off the list for because they didn't have enough experience or whatever the heck it was, right? But Trev Alberts listened. He listened to his players. He listened to his team. He listened to the people that are associated with this program, intimately associated with this program. And they told him, Michael Early is the guy that you need to bring back because that's the guy we want to play for. That's the guy we want running our organization, our program. We believe in him, and we want to be a part of what he's going to build here at A&M. And you know what Trev Alberts did? He said, you know what? Let me give Mike a call. Let me give him a call. And he went, interviewed, and he found out Early wants to be an Aggie. And you know what? Coaches will always tell you, you got to leave to come back. You got to leave to come back. So for those of y'all who are angry that he was on that list to go to Texas, you got to understand this. He was going to be left without a job. Going to be left without a job. And in most cases, in a lot of cases, you have to go somewhere else, get yourself up to another head coaching job, then to come back to take that head coaching job where you want to be. And who knows, right? Who knows? He may be here for 5 years and leave. Who knows? Nobody knows right now. But you know what? He was the right hire right now for this program. Because what happened when they announced that hire? What happened when they announced that hire? Well, Camarillo, out of the transfer portal. He's back. He's an Aggie. Lavalette, Grahovic, Sorrell, Kent, Schott, Wilson, Lampkin. All of them are back. They jumped out of that transfer portal, back into Aggie land, committed themselves for next year because of Michael Early and because of Trev Alberts listening to those guys and understanding that that is what they wanted. It's not about letting the players run the program. It's about understanding the qualities of a man that are required to lead a program. And when you make that sort of impression on the young men that you're coaching, that tells you something about that guy. That tells you something about that guy. And all he did was get all those guys to come back. A recommitment from Wyatt Hensler, the third baseman from Penn. A commitment from Gavin Cash, the first baseman at Texas Tech. Added Jacob Galloway, the catcher from USC. 3 big-time transfers coming in. They're not done yet. They're not done yet. Kyron LeBlanc, big-time JUCO pitcher, guy that hits 100 miles an hour. May remind you a little bit of Cortez, has to get his control issues under order. Brings in a pitching coach that was a sitting head coach at the University of Washington, Mike Leonard does. Goes and gets a guy that was the hitting coach at the University of Texas last year, having a great year by this lineup last year with these guys. Did a phenomenal job. Also, big-time recruiter. They've got more coming. There's more still to happen. That baseball team may be better next year than it was in 2024. And that's hard to say with a guy like Montgomery leaving the program, right? He's going to be a top 10 pick in the Major League Baseball draft. And this team may be better. Cortez is going to get drafted. He's going to go somewhere. Aschenbach, who was the closer of the year in college baseball, he may be gone. We don't know his future yet. There's rumors that he's applying for another year. Neither here nor there for us right now. Okay? If we find out that he gets another year, that'd be great. We'd love to have that guy back. Love to have that guy back. That guy's a monster. Guy's a monster. He's a beast. Stopper of the year, man. But I'm going to tell you the guy that's really going to make a big difference for this team next year. That's Ryan Prager. Ryan Prager, who rumors have it that if he goes in the first 2 rounds, maybe 3rd round, that he'll probably go. If he doesn't, he may come back. I'm a big believer in Ryan Prager, and if he comes back, this team is absolutely loaded and ready for another run. We talked about it all this year. This team is good enough, talented enough, deep enough to make a run at a championship, not at a World Series, at a championship. This team in 2025 is going to be, once again, good enough, talented enough, deep enough to make a run at a World Series. With Ryan Prager and maybe another couple of pieces, depending on how everything's, they're going to be good enough to make another run at a championship. And I'm excited. I'm excited for this team. The way they're getting put together, right? They may, you're going to lose Teddy Burton, lose Montgomery, right? Chestnut. But right now, you've then added to replace those guys, Hensler. You've added Cash. You've added Galloway. You're not even talking about some of the younger guys that are getting a little bit more time in the program. You haven't talked about the guys that are going to be freshmen on the recruiting class that are going to be able to come in and contribute. This team is going to be as good as the 2024 team, talent-wise. Question is, can they get it all to come together? That's Michael Early's second part of this job, right? His first part was, hey, getting these guys to come in, getting these guys to stay, getting the talent to show up, bringing the talent in. We talk about a coach's job in college athletics. One is to bring in talent. Two is to put them out there in a position to succeed, best possible position to succeed. That's his next goal. That's his next goal. But I've got a lot of faith in him right now. The tailgate's got a lot of faith in him right now because all we've seen him do is be successful. And that's exciting. If you haven't jumped on the Texas A&M baseball bandwagon, now it's pretty full at the moment. But try to get a seat. Because this team is going to do great things again next year. I can't even fathom what to expect out of Grahovic in his second season. After what he showed as a freshman, Sorrell in his second season, after what he showed as a freshman, right? What do you get out of guys like Wilson coming out of the bullpen? Another year. What does Lampkin look like after his performance in the World Series? But Sadeo, what does he do? Take a step forward with the experience, the additional experience, having been in the pressure-packed moments. What does Lavalette do in preparation to be one of the top draft picks in the Major League Baseball draft? What does that guy do as an encore to come out here, try to with a chance to break the all-time record for home runs? Defensively, guys like Camarillo, who also, by the way, hit right around 300 this year, just super clutch. How about shot? How about a healthy shot? A full-time Kent, who's really looked like he was starting to piece things together, especially at the plate, man. Very comfortable. What does he do as a follow-up? Who's going to be the guy protecting Lavalette? Who's going to be behind him? Will it be Schott? Will Grahovic stay in the leadoff spot? I mean, these are all huge questions, things that we are wondering about. I don't know if Grahovic doesn't move into maybe a number 3 spot. How do these new guys fit in? A guy like Cash from Texas Tech, who everybody had as the third best transfer in the transfer portal behind Lavalette and Grahovic. I mean, to me, that's going to be huge. Who's going to be your 1, 2, 3 starters, right? Your weekend starters. If Aschenbach doesn't get another year, he ain't back. I don't think Cortez is back. So who's going to be your 2 bullpen guys that you went to in every freaking time you needed outs? Right? Because those 2 guys were absolutely critical for this baseball team in 2024. Those 2 guys. Probably more important than any one of the starters, including Prager. So do we get more out of those starters in Sadeo, in Lampkin? Does Wilson get into that weekend starter rotation? You know, how about some of the young arms that we saw? You know, are those guys going to get a little bit more run? Will one of those guys become the bullpen guy? It's going to be exciting, man. But you better get on this bandwagon right now, because this team, by the way, this team is going to be very, very good going forward. They ain't going anywhere this coming year. They're going to be absolutely phenomenal in 25. They're going to make a run for another championship. And I think the key for me right now, Prager, does he come back? I'm telling you, man, I'd feel real good about things if he's still on this roster. I'd feel real good about things. And then obviously early, right? We'll see. We'll see. I would buy my tickets to Omaha. I would go ahead and buy those tickets. If you're an Aggie fan, go ahead and reserve your rooms. Reserve your rooms, buy your tickets, because you may not get them later. And I think this thing just, I don't know that there was any way that the matchup on November 30th at Kyle Field was going to get more hyped in any possible way than it already was. But it just did. It just did. This thing got bigger. This thing got bigger. I don't know how you get bigger than what it already was. That's going to be the biggest game in college football this coming year. That's going to be it. Game of the year in the SEC. It's bigger. Imagine that. Take that for a second. Think about that for a second. You think those tickets are going to be hard to come by? Those tickets are going to be impossible to come by. Steve Sarkisian had nothing to do with this, but he's going to get a little bit of it. He's going to get a little bit of it. Aggies are going to give it to him because of that other guy. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be the best environment in all of college freaking football. And that game is going to mean, just means more, right? SEC just means more. Well, get ready. TU, November 30th, Kyle Field. It ain't going to get any better than that. Let's move into a little bit of football. Because with all this craziness happening in baseball, Mike Elko's just behind the scenes, man. He's just sitting back there working. Just working, putting together this roster, man, doing what he's got to do. The 2025 class coming together. 7th ranked class in the country. Steadily moving up. 18 recruits. So a lot of the classes ahead of him are bigger. Still got some room to fill in this class. But, you know, it's not flash. It's not flash with Mike Elko. We always talk about the fact that you got to build a team in the right way. And one of the things that I've been really excited about with Elko, Coach Elko, who's, you know, I don't know that you could have asked for sort of a more tumultuous start to your reign around here and going through everything he had to go through with transfers and in this new era of an NIL and all this good stuff and the questions. And then he, 100% supporter of this baseball team and the basketball team and, everything that went on in the offseason and just incredible promoter of Texas A&M athletics, not just football, athletics. Mike Elko's done it. He's done it. But here's the thing. Quiet in the background. He sat there and throughout this process, keep recruiting. They dumped that class from in the 20s. They're into the top 10 at number 7 right now, more or less, depending on who you look at. Could be 5, could be 9, whatever. 18 recruits. But not only that, it's the importance of how he's doing it. 5 offensive linemen already. 5 offensive linemen already. We talked about it before, with the Jimbo and his recruiting, right? He's recruiting 6 wide receivers and all this stuff, and 3 offensive linemen, 4 offensive linemen. You put 5 offensive linemen on the field. You only put 3 receivers, maybe 4 at a time on the field. So when you recruit these guys, you should be recruiting at that rate, right? 5 offensive linemen already. I wouldn't be surprised if he adds another one. It's 6 in the class. That's a big time deal for Mike Elko. Build from the trenches. 4 defensive linemen. Well, you put 4 of them on the field, don't you? 4 defensive linemen. 4 DBs. Well, you're playing with 5. They're probably going to, 4 is pretty good. They could probably add another. You got a quarterback, you got a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, a linebacker. They still got some things that they need to add to this class, right? You still need to add another couple of receivers, probably. It's my opinion. You got to add another couple of wide receivers. Might have to add another linebacker, maybe 2. But this is how the team needs to be built. You got to look at your roster every year. This is how many players we put on the field. 2 linebackers on the field. We should have 2 in every class. Right? I mean, if you get exactly what you put on the field, 22 starters, and then you got a couple extra spots. Add another defensive lineman, another offensive lineman, another wide receiver. Maybe a second quarterback. I don't know, second running back. Every class. And you build on them. Never turn down big-time talent. Right? Guys who fit your program, guys who you believe in. Anaya Smith, guys who are football players. Torian York, guys who are going to show up, be football players. Day 1. Don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. What position? Don't care. They'll get on the field. You know why? Football players. And guys that buy into that, never turn those guys down. 3 stars, whatever. It doesn't matter. And if you happen to get lucky enough to get a 5-star that wants to play, man, that's pretty good too. How this class ends, 2024 season is going to have a huge impact on that. Huge impact on that. Right now, this is the basis. 18 right now, strong. By the end of the summer, it might be 20, right? You're going to feel good about this recruiting class at that point, at the beginning of the season. But here's the thing. 2024 football season is going to have an effect on that recruiting class. If this team goes 6-6, not going to be good for the recruiting class. Does it mean it's time to jump off the earth? No. Does it mean that Aggie football is over? No. But it's going to have a negative impact on the recruiting class. That's just the facts. I don't expect this team to go 6-6. I think some of you probably heard me say that I'm very optimistic about what this football team can do. I might have said 12-0. I believe this team can beat anybody on their schedule. I believe this football team can beat anybody on their schedule if Mike Elko gets them to play in the right way. If Mike Elko gets them to play the right way, they can beat anybody on the schedule. Does that mean they win all 12? No, but they can. They're talented enough to win every game they play. That's huge. That's huge. Now it's up to the coaches. If this team goes 11-1, 10-2, that recruit class is going to get better, by the way. Better. It's going to go from 7 to number 3, 4 in the country. Because they're going to add more talent. They are. It's just going to happen. Guys are going to come and join that team when Elko proves it. The talent level is going to get better. And the guy that I put a lot of things on right now is Colin Klein. I think Colin Klein's got a big part in where this team goes. Because this offense, if all of a sudden gets out of this dark age Jimbo Fisher, just garbage of an offense with no explosive plays and without the ability to make exciting things happen, if Colin Klein can break them out of that and learn how to push the ball down the field, make big plays, give wide receivers opportunities to make big plays, all of a sudden, that one wide receiver is going to turn into 4. It's going to turn into 4. Going to add 3 more and 3 big-time guys. I'm telling you, the talent will come. If they start showing that explosive ability, the ability to make big plays, the ability to score in exciting ways, the talent will show up at the skill positions, at wide receiver, at running back, at quarterback. We've never had a problem. This team in 24 is going to have a lot to say about what this program looks like over the next 3 or 4 years. Going to have a lot to say because a good year keeps you moving in the right direction. A really good year, now you're taking a bump. And for those of you that were cheering for the Aggies in 2012, remember what happened when Johnny made headlines, when Johnny was the talk of the town in college football. Because that's the kind of level of recruiting that's going to happen around here. That's the kind of excitement that's going to happen around here, except with a guy at the helm in Mike Elko that's not going to fall for the glamour and the glitz, that's going to remember what it's about to build a football program, to work to build a football program, to win. It ain't going to be showtime. It's going to be work time. We always talked about it in coaching. Some people go one game at a time. No. 1 rep at a time. And it talks about practice rep, game rep, whatever it is, off-season rep, weightlifting rep, sprinting rep, 1 rep at a time. Because you only get that rep once. And if you waste it, that's your fault. And that's the core of what Mike Elko has to remember here, right? That's the core that he has to instill into this football team. That's the way they have to be, 1 rep at a time. Anybody that's been listening to the show knows that I've been talking about Jimbo for a long time. The guy just hasn't had it for a long time. And he was the wrong hire at A&M. They shouldn't have given him the extension. All those things, whatever. He's gone. Good riddance. He's gone. Thank goodness. We're on to the next. And right now, Mike Elko's got a chance to do something that nobody else has ever done here at Aggie Land. And that's build a consistent winner at Aggie Land. And I love you, RC. I love you, RC. You had a good run. You had a good run. And I think a lot of Aggies would wish we'd have kept you around a little longer. But that's what this team is looking for. That's what this program's looking for. That's what this 12th man and this fan base who's going to show out this coming season in football, in baseball. This 12th man is going to show out. That's what they want. They want a consistent winner. And today we're going to finish it off from the tailgate. Most important players on this roster. Who is the most important player for this offense? Who's the most important player for this defense? Start with the offense. I mean, a lot of folks are going to go Connor. I don't think so. Look, I think we all know what we have in Connor. I'll be honest with you. I don't know that we lose a lot if we lose Connor this year. I think Marcel Reed is ready to take the reins of this offense. I think he adds an element of electricity that Connor may not have. Does that mean he's a better quarterback than Connor? Well, no. I think Connor has something. He's got that ability to see the field, the instincts to see the field and sort of know when to fire the ball, where to try to fit things in. He's got a great instincts out there. Not the biggest arm, not the most athletic, not the biggest guy, but the dude has a feel for the offense. And he's going to have a big season for this team. He's going to have a big season for this team. Let me say that again. He is going to have a big season for this team. He is not the most important player on this offense. Biggest reason for that is that at the end of the day, I feel very comfortable with the guys behind him. Some folks think it's Jalen Henderson. I think it's Marcel Reed. I feel very good about the running backs. I think Moss is going to have a big time year. I think Amari Daniels is already, a great second guy to have in there. Change of pace, whatever you want to call him. I'm almost willing to say it's the guy that steps up at wide receiver. And by step up, I mean number one, the guy that goes for 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, 70-something catches, whatever. Who's that going to be? Moose? You know me, I'm a big Moose believer. Big Moose believer. I think if he decides to go, if he decides to show up, if he decides to go, Moose is the guy. He's already got a great connection with Connor. I think the dude can make plays. He's an explosive player. Big plays. You ask me, that's Moose. Is it Noah? Noah, who we ran into the other night, hanging out, watching some sports. Janae Walker. Which one of those guys is going to be that guy? And I'm not saying that all three of them are going to have good seasons. I think all three will. One of those guys has to be the dude. One of those guys has to be Malik Neighbors, right? One of those guys has to be the dude. I want to see that kind of explosiveness out of this offense where these receivers are getting 1,200, 1,300 yards, opportunities at big plays, touchdowns. What do we expect from Noah? Is Noah going to be a guy that's only a red zone guy, just a touchdown scorer? Kind of what he was last year. We want him is he going to be involved in the offense on a regular basis? They're going to get him the ball quick. I think he can for Moose. How about Janae Walker? Will he get rid of the drops? Because he's got a lot of tools, man. He's got a lot of physical tools. I think it's Moose. I think that is your most important player on this offense. Because I think if he has the kind of year that he's capable of, if he puts in the work, if he goes and figures this offense out, yeah. I think he's a difference maker. I think he's a big time difference maker because when it comes to the tough catches, he's already shown us those. This is his last chance. This is last year. So let's see what you got, Moose. I think he's the most important player on this offense. The other guy I thought about, though, is Father. Father, who as a freshman had one of the best freshman years we've seen in an offensive lineman since Jokel. Since Luke Jokel. And the last 2 years has been just not good. But the whole offensive line's been not good. If that guy can step in and take the step forward that he should have taken from his freshman to his sophomore year, his sophomore year to his junior year, and take all those steps together here into his senior year under new tutelage and new work with a new offensive line coach, a guy that has gotten a much better reputation than the guy that he's just replacing, with a better play caller and guy behind the scenes at Colin Klein. If all those things come to fruition and this guy gets himself back on the field and doing the things he needs to, I think he could be one of those guys that solidifies an offensive line and absolutely makes all the difference for this team. I still think the most important player on this offense is going to be Moose. How about defensively? Boy, there's a lot of guys you can think of defensively, and we lose Cooper, so maybe it's Torian York. Maybe it's the guy that replaces Cooper. Maybe it's Williams or Harris. Maybe. We always talk about the trenches, right? Everybody's big on Scorton right now, and boy, I think he's huge. I think he's going to have a monster year for this Aggie team. I think he's going to be a first-round draft pick in next year's draft. Nick Scorton's going to be big. Big. But we lose two guys on the interior in Nolan, McKinley Jackson. And so that position's got to be big. And I think that's Shamar Turner. I think Shamar Turner was the best defensive lineman on this team last year. No offense, McKinley Jackson. I think Shamar Turner was the best defensive lineman on this team last year, and I think he's going to be the best defensive lineman on this team again this year. I am expecting a monster year out of him. Who sits next to him? Hicks? Maybe? Regis? Samu? Who's getting the reps there? But Shamar Turner is going to be huge. Shamar Turner is going to be huge. And so if I were to say who's the most important player on this defense, I think it's him. I think it's him because he's got to take on, he's got to be the interior beast, the beast on the inside for this defense. He's got to be. He's got to be that guy that's a difference maker on the inside, the guy that disrupts plays in the backfield on the inside. That's the man that just kills an offense, right? And so I think he's the biggest one. But I could also make an argument for Bryce Anderson as the deep safety for this secondary. Bryce Anderson's got a chance to be the eraser. You know, you remember defenses that have had those kind of safeties. You know, you remember Seattle in the NFL a few years back with those safety tandems, right? Remember guys like that, the whole Troy Polamalu and the Pittsburgh Steelers and those guys. Fitzpatrick and the Steelers. The Ravens with. So, you know, those, while safety positions sometimes underrated, when you got one of the best ones and a guy that can really be an eraser over the top, that guy can be, you know, make everybody's job easy. He can be the support player in the running game. He can be the over-the-top guy anytime the corner misses an assignment. And then he can be the guy that gets turnovers as well. So I think Bryce Anderson's got a chance to be that guy, the most important player. And then the other guy that I might think of is Chappelle. Look, Chappelle has been underrated since the day he showed up, man. This guy's done nothing but start football games and make big plays for this Texas A&M defense since he was a freshman, and thrown in the mix because of injury. Chappelle has been nothing short of unbelievable since he's been here, and he's back. And I think in the role that they're probably going to implement him, being more of a nickel guy this year, where he's going to have some freedom to play, his instincts are going to even kick in better. And I expect Chappelle to really have a big year for this Aggie defense. But having said all that, I still think it's Shamar Turner. Most important player on this defense. Because that's going to be the key for this defense. It's going to be, can they stop the run inside? Can they take care of the interior, right? Shamar Turner, DJ Hicks are going to be big there. Obviously, York has got to be big there. That second linebacker's got to be big there. Johnson, Weber, right? Those guys are going to have to be huge in order to get that running game taken care of for this defense. I think Shamar Turner is the catalyst. Folks, that's all I got today. Gig 'em from the tailgate. We'll see you next week.